Good morning. Happy Wednesday. No, Thursday. Happy Thursday. Happy Thursday. Happy Thursday. Happy April the 2nd. I did run a little late today. I was running a little late. I'm experimenting. Well, I was running a little late because I had a important sit down chit chat that I had to, it was impromptu, but it was definitely necessary and needed for me to have that talk. But anywho, I am experimenting with my time and I see that you guys like for me to come on earlier. So I'm doing my due diligence to come on earlier. Please like, share, and subscribe. And tell a friend to come and listen in. Good morning, everybody. And I do want to say happy National Autism Awareness Day. Today is the official day, but April is the entire month. So shout out to those families, shout out to those kiddos, shout out to the caretakers, shout out to those therapists, support systems, support teams, those advocates. Shout out to everybody that's out there. So if you see, I am blue. I'm wearing blue today. So drop some blue hearts in the chat for my baby. I have on, I went to a gala. I go to galas every year. And this year, a year ago, the one I went to, was it last year before last? They handed out these really cool pins. So I just always leave it on this jacket because I really love this blue jacket, but I just leave it on this one. And it's just a good way to represent and show not only not only for my child, but solidarity with other families that have children or family members or know someone that is on the spectrum. So shout out to those. For those that know my kid, y'all know he loves donuts. So if y'all want to send him a donut, send it nothing about $5. Send it to the Real K Fit. He'll get it. He had blue donuts this morning. There are certain Dunkin' Donut locations that instead of the strawberry frosting, they're doing the blue frosting, which I thought was so dope. And the one that we go to all the time made sure they had some for him this morning. I thought it was really cool. I just love that, love that, love that. The inclusiveness, the inclusion, and letting people know they're seen, they're heard, and we support you. So great on that. So if you see some families, reach out to some families and tell them they're doing a good job. It is not easy, but it is rewarding, to say the least. But welcome everybody in. Here on Politics in Plain English, we talk about current political events and explain what's happening, why it's happening, and what it actually means, right? What it means. There's a lot that's been going on the past 24 hours, I will say. I did take my rubber bands out so that I could talk better with you guys because it was kind of, I'm not used to them yet. I've only had the rubber bands maybe about 5 days, so I'm not used to them yet. But anyway, couple things that's going on. We're just going to do, we always highlight a few things and then we dig deeper. First thing, gas is still on the rise and it is expected to go higher, higher, higher. Brace yourself. We are only beginning in this fight, especially since Donald Trump says he doesn't need the Strait of Hormuz to be open, and he's encouraging other countries to go and take the oil. Again, doesn't this sound familiar? He's always taking things or whatever. He thinks he can just bulldoze his way into any situation. We also know that the Senate is now investigating Jared Kushner because of the money deals, and it's always follow the money, because of the money deals that he has been making from the Middle East. They're trying to figure out what is it for and why is he running a shadow government over in the Middle East. And if you heard Iran said he's getting all of this money and it's not working out well for them. He got all that money from Qatar, and look what happened. They ended up getting bombed. We do have Trump's religious leader who just got released from jail after 6 months after pleading guilty for, doing alleged such things, as you can see right here. Good morning. As you can see here at the title, good morning, everybody coming in. Please hit like, share, and subscribe. As you see here, Trump's religious advisor has been arrested, has been released from jail only 6 months for doing what with a 12-year-old. And I find it's funny. It's always these religious. I don't understand what's going on with the white nationalists. Okay. These supernova Christian folk. Do y'all see a trend that's going on here with them? This is a trend right here. This trend. They're always finding that they're doing something that they have no business doing. Okay, that's below the pale. That is disgusting. It's disgusting and disturbing. We're finding that all of these things, it just keeps going, like it just keeps happening. Most of the people that were arrested during January 6th and then pardoned, most of them have been found guilty of having child pornography in their phone, other domestic violence acts. I mean, just an array of heinous, nasty, disgusting crimes, like against either children or females. There's an ongoing trend there that is highly alarming to me with that. I don't know about you guys, but it's just like, and they want to call us the monsters, but I digress. Pam Bondi. I do think Pam Bondi is on her way out, because we already know when Donald Trump starts talking about it, we already know it's as good as done. So reports are stating that he is discussing and floating around the idea of removing her. And who is he talking about replacing her with? The director of EPA. Someone who has no skill set for this position. For the top cop position in America, someone who doesn't have the skill set or the fortitude to be able to do this job. He's looking to replace her. And why is he looking to replace her? Not because, ICE isn't doing what they need to do and the Epstein files and this. No, he's replacing her because he feels like she's not doing a good job at prosecuting his rivals. Okay, good morning. He feels like she's not doing a good job at prosecuting his political rivals. James Comey, Letitia James, Adam Schiff, Senator Adam Schiff. You have Fannie Willis down in Atlanta. He thinks he can just come up with charges and say, charge them, and it's supposed to work. Good morning. Good morning. He thinks that you're supposed to say, get them, and they're supposed to find a way to get them. And that's just not how it works. There's a due process for a reason. And yes, it is very easy for a prosecutor to get a grand jury indictment. And I was explaining this to a friend the other day. They're like, why is it so easy? Why is he able to get grand jury indictments? Let me tell you something. It is very easy to get it, right? The grand jury is always going to lean towards a prosecutor. But then on the flip side, when it comes down to once the hearing comes, then it is on the prosecution side to show why this indictment should then go to charges, right? Why that this should proceed. So really, the weight of it is on the prosecution. And because when Abby Lowell asked, that's who Don Lemon's lawyer is too, shout out to Don Lemon, Abby Lowell has been asking for the transcripts. And what has happened is it is then discovered that they're lying to the grand jury and they're leaving pertinent information out on purpose. How they got James Comey and Letitia James indicted, what they did, the first indictment, the first try, they said no. So then what they did was they took a section out of it, went back to one person and had them sign off on it. And when it all unfolded, you can't do that. That's just not the way that this thing works, right? Again, we have incompetent people because the lawyer at the time that went and filed for that indictment, she was Donald Trump's insurance lawyer, who is now facing being disbarred, pretty much. We're talking about a lawyer who did not know the difference between the principal of a school and principals as far as principals, principalities, didn't know the difference in spelling. What? Had it in their principal as the principal of the school in the document. This is who we have running this country. Okay. This is who we have in charge of things and trying to file motions and things like this. This is what is going on. Like, it's crazy. And they want to strip education. No, this is more evident in why we need education, right? We need education reforms. So Pam Bondi is on the chopping block, and I do believe she will be out of here. I think she'll be out of here before the hearing. The hearing, I believe, is April. It's either 14th or 16th, where she has to go under oath in front of Congress, because they have found out that there are hard drives that have been hidden. There is 2.5 million more pages, documents, that has been withheld in the Epstein files. And she's been lying. She has been lying, and she's being caught red-handed, because once you go under oath, that's your ass, Mr. Postman, as my granny used to say. That's your ass, Mr. Postman. So I don't think she's going to be here any longer. And I do think she is going to fuck around and find out, because he may pardon you from federal things, but he cannot pardon you from the state. And folks are smartening up, because we know Minnesota and we know Chicago are about to bring charges up on Kristi Noem, and probably Kash Patel, and probably Pam Bondi as well. They don't like to follow the law. They think the law applies to everybody but them, right? And they're going to find out very quickly. You would think that they would have watched Reagan. Everybody around him ended up going to jail and losing something. I would never hitch my wagon to someone that all they do is lie, 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 lie. Okay. I just couldn't do it. I just really couldn't do it. And also, we've come to find out that under Kristi Noem's, when she was the director, the head person, a nearly blind refugee, the DHS left him out in freezing cold in the middle of the night. It has been now ruled a homicide. Yes. They are literally killing people and impregnating people. But they're supposed to be the ones to getting the criminals out of here, right? They're supposed to be the ones to dictate who can be in America and who can't. This is what they're supposed to be dictating, but this is what's actually happening. We're also finding out that there are some these concentration camps, because that's what I call them. They're not detention centers, they're concentration camps, where there is no beds, hardly no working bathrooms. There's no AC or heat. People are having to sleep on the floor with no blankets, no nothing. They're not getting phone calls. These attorneys can't even locate them, because they're not keeping an accurate record. Because if they were keeping an accurate record, the numbers would be through the roof of the things that are going on with them. But they're also going to fuck around and find out, because we do know that the ICE agents that are hired, y'all wondering why, ask yourself why you haven't seen a Proud Boy rally or a KKK rally, because they replaced them and went to ICE, which is why they also want their face to be covered up so bad. But you so gangster, but you want to cover up, you want to put a hood on your head, you want to put, a bandana around your face so that you can't be identified. That's not gangster to me. Gangster is letting them know it's me, and I'm here, and I'm standing in my shit, right? That's what, you know what I mean? But this is the agency that is taking children out of their homes, waiting at bus stops, who is now going to be outside of the Marine Corps graduation while they're checking IDs. Yes. Who is going to be outside? Just think about that really quick. Who is going to be outside the Marine Corps graduation checking IDs? These are people who have taken an oath to serve and protect the United States of America, to do good in the world, because we know they send in the Marine Corps to help rebuild places. This is disgusting. This is really disgusting. So they're trying to hem people up. right? They're trying to hem everybody up but this family. Because what we do know about this family right here, guys, everybody in this whole picture right here, one of their parents is an immigrant. All we see is a bunch of anchor babies in this picture and a wife, a bimbo wife who can't speak English. Okay. Jared Kushner in the shadow over there making shady deals over there in the Middle East. Who can't keep $3 to his name. Okay. You see over there, then you see Ivanka Trump. She an anchor baby. Eric and Don Jr., they anchor babies. But they ain't saying nothing about this though. They want to talk about who should be here and who shouldn't be here. No, these are the folks that need to get up out of here. These are the folks that are robbing us in broad daylight. They are lining their pockets up. They have made their net worth has went up over $2 billion, billion with the B. Billion with the B. Okay. Billion with a B. Billion with a B. Just right. See nothing wrong with that. But I digress. I digress from that. Okay. Meanwhile, while they're so busy trying to say immigrants are ruining this nation and transgenders are ruining this nation, they're so busy talking about that. Check this out. A model reveals that Ice Barbie's husband, Kinky Bimbo, right, states that a fetish cam girl was paid $5,000 over the past 2 years to dominate Kristi Noem's husband while he wore big false boobs, and that it was no way in hell she did not know. This is the model in the center. This is the bimbo to the right. Child, if this ain't nasty business, I don't know what. But she wants privacy. But ask those people who were in their homes peacefully and trying to take their children peacefully and in their cars driving down the street peacefully or at work peacefully, could they have privacy? And I do believe this story is going to get even wilder. I really do. I do think that this story is about to get even wilder, right? I do. I think this story is about to take legs upon legs upon legs. I really do think this story is about to travel and we're about to find some nasty stuff out. But this is the party who is so obsessed with what you're doing in your bedroom. This is the party that is so obsessed what women are doing with their bodies. Meanwhile, they're dressing like women. This is the party that is so obsessed with people's sexuality and how they identify themselves. Yet, this is the same party that keeps getting caught cross-dressing. Y'all know who this is, right? This is the vice president. Y'all see him. This is the vice president in his cosplay too. Can't y'all look at the eyeliner and see the eyeliner is very similar to now, right? We know he loves his eyeliner. He can't go a day without his eyeliner in this cheap Party City plastic wig, okay? Look at how shiny that thing is. Girl, you didn't have nobody to tell you that wasn't cute. And is that chains or a choker around his neck? And he's posing like a bad bitch, right? Girl, I know something. But they're so worried about transgenders using bathrooms. They're so worried about how transgenders in it walking down the street are going to affect them. They want gay conversions, and they want, to be able to tell people the LGBTQIA, I think LGBTQIA community, they don't deserve health insurance. They don't deserve a living wage. They don't deserve to have access to education. However, they're back here. This is the vice president, guys. This is the vice president, J.D. Vance. And I also want to let y'all know, J.D. Vance was not his initial name. J.D. Vance has changed his name like 3 times. Running from something? Clock that. Go Google about it. It'll tell you. Yes. This is J.D. Vance. This is J.D. Vance playing in makeup, wigs, and posing like a bad bitch. Too bad he's not a bad bitch and he's a badly built bitch. But this is J.D. Vance. But they're so worried about what we have going on. So worried. Like they're just so worried about what everybody else goes on, and they never sweep their doorstep, or they never. And the question I would love to ask is, why do you care so much? If you do it, why can't somebody else do it? Also, J.D. Vance got caught writing a book about the Catholic faith, but the cover was a Methodist church. But remember, we hire the best people, right? Remember, we hire the best people, right? Remember that. We hire the best people. Okay. Remember, this administration hires the best people. Remember that. Thank you. Remember, this administration hires the absolute best of the best, right? Hire the best of the best. And while they're hiring the best of the best, while they're hiring the best of the best, the president of the United States is over here. I don't even know why they allow him put a mic in front of his face, because he always, not only does he tell on himself, he makes a fool of himself, right? He makes an absolute fool of himself every single time. Every single time. Okay, I want you guys to see this. My mouth was wide open yesterday. I said, I know y'all lying to me.
To take care of daycare, because the United States can't take care of daycare. That has to be up to a state. We can't take care of daycare. We're a big country. We have 50 states. We have all these other people. We're fighting wars. We can't take care of daycare. You got to let a state take care of daycare, and they should pay for it too. They should pay. They have to raise their taxes, but they should pay for it. And we could lower our taxes a little bit to them to make up. But it's not possible for us to take care of daycare. Medicaid, Medicare, all these individual things, they can do it on a state basis. You can't do it on a federal. We have to take care of one thing: military protection, because the
United States can't take care of daycare. Thank you guys that are coming in. Please like, share, and subscribe. I really appreciate you guys. We can't take care of daycare. Medicare, Medicaid, we can't do it all. However, raise your hand if you are employed. This is going to be interactive for a minute. Follow me here, okay? Follow me here. I know some of you may be at work, but if you can, raise your hand. Raise your hand if you have a job. Raise your hand. Put your hand in the chat. Put a hand in the chat. Raise your hand if you have a job. Okay? Raise your hand. All right, I see my hands being raised, right? Some of you might be at work listening and can't really type and interact, but the ones that can, please interact here. Now, for those that get a check, follow me. Come on, we're going somewhere, okay? Those that get a check, when you look at your gross and your net, there is a difference, right? When you look at your gross and your net, there is a difference. Can anyone tell me what the difference is? Anyone? Can anyone tell me what the difference is from your gross and your net and why those two numbers are not the same? Well, we're praying for you, Jaya, that you find you some employment. Because taxes come out. Okay, follow me, follow me, follow me, follow me. In those taxes, thank you so much for the support, blonde wig energy. In those taxes that are being taken out, isn't there a Medicare tax? Isn't there a Social Security tax? But we can't take care of Medicaid and Medicare when we actually pay into those things. Don't y'all find that weird? That he says we can't take, but what they do want to do, okay? What they do want to do is they want to keep us in this war. They want $200 million more than what they've already been given. And mind you, the Pentagon has never passed an audit. Hundreds of millions of dollars, we have no idea where it's going. They have never passed an audit. Never. They have never passed an audit. Imagine that. And Pete Hegseth, the drunkard in chief, is asking for $200 million for this choice war. But you cannot take our tax-paying dollars that we are already paying, because don't forget, he already gave the 1% the largest tax break and made it permanent. Made it permanent. Where the CEO of a company is taxed less than the secretary who makes less. Let that sink in. They are taking advantage of these loopholes. They are pretty much damn near paying zero taxes. You're welcome. So the burden of everything has now come on. What is it? Whatever is left of the middle class, the working class, and the poor. Good morning. But they can't take care of us. And what I think certain states should start doing, thank you, is stop. I think California, New York, Chicago, North Carolina, Virginia, and Pennsylvania. I'm talking about big economic spaces, right? Even Georgia, but we know they won't, should stop sending money, should stop cutting that check every month that they have to cut to put into the taxes, the federal taxes. Because if all of those big states, especially California and New York, if they did it alone, guess what? They would crash the economy. Because then my question is, what are our taxes paying for then? I can tell you what our taxes are paying for. Our taxes are paying for that new jet that Kristi Noem ordered and had the jet that she was flying in, put a bedroom in there so her and Corey Lewandowski could have their rendezvous. What we do know is that Donald Trump every weekend decides to go one of his golf courses that we have to pay for him to be at, because we have to pay for the flight, we have to pay for the pilot, we have to pay for the security, because Air Force One does just not fly by itself, right? It just doesn't take off and fly by itself and everybody makes way. That's not how it works. They literally have to stop certain flights, create a bubble around Air Force One. And there are fighter jets that are escorting and in a certain distance that if, God forbid, anything happens, they're right there. It's also when he goes overseas, because Air Force One cannot stop. There is a fueling jet that fuels Air Force One midair. Kash Patel flew the males hockey team and was drinking with them, and they ordered lobsters and crab legs and filet mignons. Our taxpaying dollars are paying for that. You know what else taxpaying dollars are paying for? Every time Donald Trump wants to sue somebody, we got to foot these bills. Meanwhile, our roads are raggedy. Our infrastructures are crumbling. Our environment is on the decline. Oracle just laid off 30,000 people. That is 30 as of yesterday at 6 a.m. in the morning, sent them by email. 30,000 are now added to the growing unemployment list. But our taxpayer, we could tax them more and do what with it? You have to have a plan. No, who needs to be taxed more is how is it that Jeff Bezos is able to have Amazon's cloud, girl, right? Amazon's cloud hold your breath when I'm about to tell y'all this. Y'all know that Ring camera? That's operated by Amazon's cloud. Y'all know Lyft and Uber, they use Amazon's cloud. Y'all know the Navy Federal, that's held by Amazon's cloud. Wells Fargo operates off of Amazon's cloud. I think DoorDash does. And it's a couple of other companies that use Amazon's cloud, right? Which is, y'all remember about 7 months ago, people couldn't access their bank. Amazon was shut down. Navy Federal, you couldn't access it. People were having issues with Uber and Lyft and DoorDash and Uber Eats. It's because they're connected to the cloud. Not one man should not be able to own that much stuff. That's why he makes, I think it's like 300,000 every couple of minutes or something like that. Good morning, everybody. I'll have to get the raw numbers for you guys. But that's because he monopolizes so much, right? But that man barely pays taxes. Meanwhile, him and Bill Gates are pushing lab-generated meat for us to eat. Yeah, the same Bill Gates that was out there with Jeffrey Epstein. So what are our taxes going to? We know it's not helping farmers because more money just got taken away from Black farmers specifically. Farmers can't even get fertilizer because of the choice war. Farmers can no longer export their goods because of what this administration has been putting in place. But this was America first, right? This is America first, right? And people come in my comments, well, we are winning. How are we winning? And I'm going to continue to ask this question every day. How is it that America is first and are winning? We're not even winning the goddamn war. You know why we're not even winning the war? Look at what Iran just did. Oh, speaking of Amazon, Iran said, hold my beer real quick. Trump, you don't want to bring no common sense. You want to keep bombing and throwing out these frivolous threats. Okay? Now they're going to take it out on Amazon. Good morning. Good morning, y'all. Now Iran said, we're going to get one of the biggest companies. Because we do know that Jeff Bezos donated to Donald Trump's campaign, right? We do know that Jeff Bezos, every time he had some type of function, he's sitting right there, lockstep. We do know that. Iran said, you have fucked around, and now you are finding out. Run up and get done up. And this is the part of the done up, because we ran up. This is the part of the done up that they're partaking in, and they're not going to stop. Because you also know why? Because Putin is in Donald Trump's back pocket and has shared things that he had no business sharing with Putin. Intelligence things. Iran knows exactly where to strike and how to get there. And Iran has missiles with 3 heads on them. Just think about it. 3 heads on it. You can't stop those. It's impossible to stop those. It's impossible to stop those type of missiles, because it comes in and then the head of it breaks off into 3, and those are 3 separate bombs that are coming. It's impossible. And guess who else is back in Iran? China. So China, we know, is a technological hub, right? He sure did donate to the that East Wing renovation. That ain't gonna happen. Russia is giving Iran info. China is helping supplying them with stuff. The only people that can stand up against Iran and beat their missile attacks is Ukraine, because Ukraine figured out how to build a missile defense system for cheap at a robust rate. They also figured out how to build those drones really fast for cheap. Meanwhile, we can't even, it takes us months, and one drone costs a couple million. One drone. So now Jeff Bezos, how is that money that's being donated to you looking? Because this is not going to be the only strike. But they're specific about what they're doing. They're no dummies. The cloud servers. Remember, I just told y'all ring the ring camera on the front, and I would advise you guys to look into another company. You know why? Because eventually they're going to use the ring to surveil folks. They are. They just are. But this is only the beginning. This is only the start of this stuff. They're not actually going after buildings. They're going after your infrastructure, the infrastructure. What is going to hit home? What makes this company work? We know that Amazon works off the cloud. And if you don't know what a cloud is, if you have an iPhone, you know what the cloud is. You can sign in from your cloud from any Apple device, right? And it has all of your information, everything you downloaded, all of your text message, all of your emails, all your pictures. Good morning. All of your apps, all of your settings are there. Your call log, your voicemail log, you can have access to all of that, right? This is what they're trying to crash, because they know that this cloud had houses very important companies, because if you think that this is where they're going to stop, they're going to go towards the banks next. So my advice to you is get you a safe and start keeping paper money. Paper money. Oh, Elon, them Teslas coming up too, because they don't like you neither. Correct. They gonna come after them. Don't worry about it, because they're all one and the same. Matter of fact, they want Elon's head overseas anyway. And you notice China no longer carries Tesla. China has their own version of a Tesla. So my advice to you guys, yeah, you can bank, whatever, got it. But make sure you're keeping a stash somewhere, because once the banks crash and we can't access the stuff, we can't even log into our bank account. We cannot go to the ATM. We can't even go to the actual banking branch and say, hey, show me my money. Y'all better wake up. But again, this is what happens when you allow your misogynistic, racist instincts supersede facts. And what is fact? Kamala Harris told us all of these things were going to happen that are happening. That is a fact. Like her, love her, hate her, whatever. That is a fact. This is a fact right here, right? This is a fact, okay? Also, what we also know is a fact. Trump really thinks he's popular. See, here's the thing. Trump has a lot of people around him that were never cool kids, that were never invited to the parties, that were never in on the jokes, right? That were never made it off of the bench in sports, right? Never could get the hot girl, all right? Never had cool sneakers growing up in school. Whatever it was, they never were. They were more like the butt of the joke. They were awkward. They couldn't really do conversations well. They didn't have cool hair, whatever the case may be. That's who he has around him, like Stephen Miller, Kash Patel, Kristi Noem, Pam Bondi, you know, Dr. Oz, and the list goes on, right? So now what is happening is the Republican Party has hitched their wagon to this man. Has hitched their wagon to this man who is in sinking sand, okay? Sinking sand, you know, this sinking sand, right? And the midterms are upon us. And see, the Republicans did not, yes, they're playing chess in some way, but their moves are coming back to haunt them, because when they could have got rid of him, they should have got rid of them, because now it's going to be a very long time before they get in power again, right? Because right now it is a race to the bottom at this point. Even their own party, MAGA folks, are running away in droves and saying the quiet part out loud, that we have a deranged, disastrous, senile, demented, pooping on himself president. Thank you. Good morning. We have a petulant child that is using a Sharpie pen. And oh, I'm glad I said the Sharpie pen, because again, remember when I said that every time his mouth is moving 10 times out of 10, he's probably lying. 10 times out of 10, I know you're lying. 10 times out of 9, I know you're trying to be there. Shout out to Beyonce, right? We know that he's always lying. This man said that Sharpie, you know, Sharpie, we love Sharpies, right? I love a good Sharpie. We know Sharpies are permanent. You know, they have the whiteboard markers. If you're a teacher, if you have kids, whatever, you probably have a Sharpie somewhere, right? This man said that Sharpie was customizing his own Sharpies. Sharpie said, no, that is a lie. He just lies about stupid shit. And why would Sharpie want to put their very lucrative, successful brand to him? We've seen what this happens. Thank you so much. We watch what happens. Racism is expensive as Target. Again, I told y'all yesterday, Target is still in the red. They can't even get in the black because in business, you have the red, the black, and the green. The black means you're being steady. You're not losing anything. You're not gaining anything, but you're staying steady. They can't even get in the black. They've been in the red for like 2 years now. Okay. They have been in the red for like 2 years now. So why would another company would even want to jump so far and say, yeah, we'll make you a customized pen? Because guess what? We'll find a different version of a Sharpie very quick. Very quick, because we figured out how to survive without Target. And most of us aren't going back. I don't care how many black faces, black athletes, black toys. I don't care how many things you put in there. We ain't coming. We ain't going. We remembered how you treated our dollar. Okay, we know how you played in our face. And one thing we do not like, and we do not appreciate you playing in our face the same way Chili is playing in our face. Okay? Well, she's playing in our face. If you're a MAGA supporter, be a MAGA supporter. But here's the thing about being a MAGA supporter. Don't think that we're going to want to associate ourselves with you. Yes, it is that deep. And I wish people would stop saying, oh, I don't like to get political. You should. Because politics, you know, that gas you pump in the car, politics drive that. You know, that food, that produce you go and buy, politics drive that. You know, the school that your kid goes to, politics have something to do with that. You know that healthcare, you know, your premium that you have, politics have something to do with that. You know, when you go to school and you get college loans, if you have to, politics have something to do with that, on how you're going to repay it. You know that the road you drive on when you're driving to work every day, or you're traveling and it's boom, 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 politics have something to do with that. You know, when planes are nice and clean or being held in the sky and they're not just dropping everywhere and all kind of accidents are happening, politics have something to do with that. When you can go, you live in a rural area and you have hospitals that you can actually go to and don't have to drive 45 minutes to the nearest hospital because the one in your rural town closed because they refuse to give them money to stay open. Politics have something to do with that. When we are looking at jobs and saying race should not be a factor, right? But unfortunately, we have to implement that. Yes, you should have X, Y, and Z. Politics have something to do with that. When your luggage is 40 and 50 minutes late coming off the conveyor belt, when you are taking a flight somewhere and you're having to wait there and wondering where your luggage is, and now politics has something to do with that. Okay? What you see on your TV, politics have something to do with that. The affordability of your mortgage, your car, interest rates, your rent, politics have something to do with that. Being able to refinance whatever you have, politics have something to do that. The fresh air or the dirty air that you breathe, politics have something to do with that. Okay? So, folks that say they don't do politics, you better. You better. Politics have something to do with your everyday life. It is hard to watch mainstream media. I implore you guys that are, if you're heavily in politics or you're just learning about it, Don Lemon is great. Jim Acosta is great. Lord have mercy. Joy Reid is great. The Midas Touch is great. MS Now, but I only watch Rachel Maddow and I watch Lord have mercy, Lawrence O'Donnell, and Chris, what is his name? Oh my God, I can't think of it because he comes on around 8:00. Ari Melber. The evening lineup is where you're going to get the raw truth. And it has to be a balance. Okay. It has to be in balance. But back to what I was saying, this man thought, I guess he feels like this is a winning agenda, right? I want you to watch this from this morning.
Hit a new low for a second term, according to a new CNN SSRS poll. President Trump's approval is at 35%. 64% of Americans disapprove of his performance. The president's handling of the economy, even worse. Only 31% of Americans approve of the way he has handled the economy. 27% approve of Trump's handling of inflation, and 24% approve of his handling of gas prices. Nearly 80% describe the economic conditions of the country today as poor. Roughly 6 in 10 people say they expect the economy to still be in poor condition a year from now. And about the same number feel Trump's policies have made the economy worse. The price at the pump has caused a severe or moderate financial hardship for more than 60% of those surveyed in this CNN poll. And a majority of people say recent economic conditions have led them to change their grocery buying habits, cut back on spending, and to limit how much they drive. So, John Heilman, those are just the latest numbers that tell a story of what's going on with real people in this country and the impact that the war that the president was talking about last night has had on it. He was dismissive of the gas price spike over $4 a gallon now last night, saying those are short-term increases. Once I'm done with this war in 2 weeks, again, they'll go right back to where they were. So is there any recognition or acknowledgement beyond the military strategy of the political and economic consequences, the suffering that's happening in this country and the impact that it's having on this president?
Well, clearly not, Willie. I mean, beyond the economics of this, right, which you guys were alluding to a little earlier, we live in a global, of all the markets in the world, the energy market is about as globalized as any market there is. So, there's no one who's an expert in that sector who won't tell you that the president's argument, which is we have all the oil we need in the United States. It's the biggest oil producer in the world. And so therefore the Europeans should deal with the Strait of Hormuz because that's where they get their oil. We have our oil. No, it's a global market in oil. And so if you have a cutoff if you have the Strait of Hormuz choked off, doesn't matter whether we have a lot of oil in the United States, the price for oil rises around the world. And the fact that Donald Trump didn't lay out a clear path to exit, you're already seeing reflected in the futures this morning in terms of the stock market. What does all that tell you, though? It comes back to the question that John Lemire raised earlier, which is, what was the point of this speech, politically speaking? If you're sitting in the White House right now, you put the president on a primetime address. This is another thing that is not, I still don't think has changed in our politics. To Joe's point earlier about the Constitution, you put the president on prime time to say something new, to either announce that you're doing something, to make a case for doing something else, to address some change in the situation on the ground. There was literally nothing that Donald Trump said last night that we haven't heard from Donald Trump about Iran over the course of not just the last 4 weeks, but over the course of the last 4 days. Many of those things are contradictory and internally inconsistent. What he says about it, I mean, you literally could headline that story. Donald Trump threatens to escalate the war while telling us he's getting out soon at the same time. If you were a political operative in the White House, what was, you go into a speech like that, you say, we have one objective, we're driving one headline. It's absolutely unclear to me that there is anything that he said last night that will do anything to mitigate or ameliorate the political free fall that he's in right now, and that we just heard Willie go through in those CNN poll numbers, which are consistent with all the poll numbers that we've seen over the course of the last week. Yeah. Not a thing, Joe.
That may be the case regarding the polls. I will say what the president did was, for the first time, he addressed this war to the American people. I think that's important in and of itself, and everybody else in the media has been saying the president needs to speak to the American people, and he did say a few things that maybe just as a former Republican, as a conservative, he said a few things that I thought, again, that I'd heard from people who've been in the intel.
Yada, yada, yada. We already know, Joe, whatever. Okay, fine. But I wanted y'all to see the downward trend of the lack of confidence that now the people are having in this administration, and anybody that is connected to it. And see, here's the problem that the Republicans are now finding out. Because that they didn't stand for something and gave him a blank check and a blank yes to everything, people are no longer forgetting or forgiving in that manner. They're forgiving you, but they're getting your ass out of there too. Every seat in every special election seat has been flipped. There has not been one seat that the Republicans have been able to flip. There are more Republicans that are retiring than ever since the Reagan years, since the Reagan administration. And I gave a call to action to the Democratic Party yesterday. And I'm going to continue to say the same thing. Number one, let go of the AIPAC money, because AIPAC is backed by Israel. So then it stifles you from voting no on something about Israel. We also know who is running, who's really, y'all look up Rothschild. Just look up Rothschild and I'll tell you what you need to know. But anyway, back to, I'm trying to stay on topic. Israel is not the Israel of biblical days. And I'm going to say that and keep saying it and keep saying it. And I don't care what anybody feels about it. They are not upstanding citizens. They're not really holy rollers. Good morning, everybody coming in. AIPAC money is disastrous, and a lot of Democratic people, candidates, officials are starting to find out, because people are doing the research and following the money, and also taking the money and looking at your voting record. Cory Booker, we are ashamed of you. You know why we are ashamed of you? Because on the very things that you should have been voting no on, you were voting yes on, because you accepted all of that AIPAC money. Chuck Schumer, another one. Y'all know I talked about this yesterday. Chuck Schumer is another one. Why do you think he let those 3 rogue senators go and vote yes when the healthcare debate was on, when tearing up the Affordable Care Act was up on the board? And don't think that old girl from South Carolina is any better. Old girl, what's her name? Y'all give me her name. I can't even think of it right now, but she was running for the president, right? She has an Indian lineage, but refused to go by that name, but also was signing missiles that were being blasted off over there into Gaza, talking about kill them all. Get the fuck out of here. And these are supposed to be Christians. These are supposed to be so biblically Bible oriented people. John Fetterman out of Pennsylvania, what are you doing? Not only are you voting to confirm some of the most disgusting and vicious, vile people, you're not even voting for your constituents' interest. Get his ass out of here. He is just as bad as old boy from West Virginia that ran as a Democrat, who was pro-gun loving, who was pro the NRA, right? But when it came time to be in lockstep with the very party he is, supposedly, I'm doing air quotes, every time it came down to it, here you go. And what's cinema? Christians Christian Cinema. I gotta look up her name. Lord have mercy. Old Cinema. She's a cinema, all right. She another one who ran on a Democratic Party and everything she campaigned for, she ain't stood up for yet. Then when she's confronted about it, well, I just believe no. You got paid off. That's what it is. There has to be a shaking of the table. And this is why I said we've got to have true voices. These old farts need to go ahead and retire, get behind an electable candidate. All of them are not going to be cookie cutter. They're not. All of them are not cookie cutter. Because all of our constituents do not look the same. However, we need people with progressive, robust, new ideas. We still have people running this country who were raised and alive during the Jim Crow era. Let that sink in. Let that sink in. James Clyburn does need to retire. He's a force in South Carolina, and if all he needs to do is pick a candidate and they're going to go behind him. He needs to retire. These folks don't even know how to operate social media correctly. They don't know how, they're not coming up with robust ideas. And the way Congress was 15, 20 years ago is not the Congress, is not the America, is not the voter of 2026. Mondani is the prime example. They said he's a socialist. They said he's this, he's that. And look what he is doing for the city of New York. There was a big snowstorm that came through there. So you know what he did? He called it a snow blitz. One thing he hired women around him to help him make these important decisions. When you have the right women around you, you're going to succeed, because it's not a pissing contest, because that's why we have all these older white men, again, from the Jim Crow era, who are having pissing contests with each other and still think that women shouldn't have voting rights and we should be only allowed to be at home, raising kids, having kids, and cooking meals and cleaning the house. That's what they think, right? Again, that's why I told y'all the abortion ban had nothing to do with Black and brown folks. It had everything to do with the white people, because their culture, their people are not procreating at the rate that they need them to procreate to stay majority. And they're really not majority anymore, but hey, go off. Mondami did a snow blitz. He paid folks $50 an hour. He said, if you got a shovel and you're out here, sign up here, log your hours, show us. They created some way to be able to attract these folks. And guess what? When people woke up that next morning, it was time to go to work. Steps was shoveled. Sidewalks was shoveled. Where your car was parked was shoveled. In front of buildings was shoveled. The side streets were shoveled. And with salt and things there. Overnight, this happened. The crime rate has dropped significantly because he's giving people things to work for. They just had over 200,000 people protesting. Not one arrest was made. Why? Because we're respecting your right to protest. That is the First Amendment. And that's the First Amendment for all people. White women, you're always losing. You're losing because you're always voting against your own interest. Do you understand? Your husband, brother, daddy's vote isn't going to look like the reasons why you vote. These are, we got to wake up. Like we just, it just has to happen. But I do think Donald Trump's administration had to happen to us for it to pull off the Band-Aid, because now white people see what it's like to be a Black and brown person in America. It is what it is. Mm-hmm. Because they were okay as long as it wasn't happening to them, and they could live in their very happy little bubble and say, oh, I've never seen it, right? Because if they don't see it, if they don't feel it, if they don't hear it, their conscience is clear voting the way that they're voting. But now that their own are being snatched out of cars, being shot in broad daylight by doing nothing but protesting their First Amendment right, now it's, oh my God. No, it took all of this to say, oh my God. It took gas prices to say, oh my God. It takes somebody that looks like you with no criminal record to say, oh my God. When really, as a human being, you should say, this isn't right. But now, because gas prices and insurance is high, and childcare is on the rise, and your produce is being messed with, and your cousins and them that got farmland are losing money, right? And they can no longer farm and produce because they're not even going to get fertilizer. And Mima and Papa can't even go down to the corner store and get their Bud Light the way that they used to, and they can't go get their prescription because their prescriptions have went ass high, and they've lost some of their coverage. And they also see that their EBT card no longer has $300 on it. It has maybe about 75. Now it's a problem. Now it's a problem because you can't refinance your home. Now it's a problem because you can barely afford to pay your car note. Now it's a problem because now you have to reimagine how you all are going to live and coexist, and kids are fleeing back home in droves, and you're having to remodel and reimagine your own household so that everybody can survive. But this is what winning looks like, right? This is exactly what winning is. And since we're on the winning topic and we're talking about Black women, I want to say to my Black women out there, you are forced to be reckoned with, okay? They can't duplicate you. They can't even imitate you if they try. Because when we own, we own. We are the most educated. We are the fastest home buying population. Mm-hmm. We are owning businesses, plural. We are still pushing forward and surviving and thriving, right? Despite it, because we already know what it's like to be last in line and how to fight to still get what we need to get. We know how to survive in the thrive. We know how to thrive in the survival area. We still just know it's just in us. It's about us. We've been doing it for how many centuries? Okay. So folks are trying to discredit my girl, but she gave a masterclass yesterday. Okay. Shout out to the 92%. She gave a masterclass yesterday. As we know, the Birthright citizenship was up yesterday for the Supreme Court. Donald Trump took his old cankle having, bruised up hands, scabs on the back of the neck, with a catheter between his legs, up there to the Supreme Court, and sat in the middle of the oral arguments, right? Because he thought he was going to intimidate these Supreme Court justices to sway the way that he wanted to. But see, this is where sometimes where you think you're really that big, he went into a place that he's really tiny. Because you're working with people who have lived for this, who have died for this, who have studied for this. This is the highest of the food chain. A regular, first of all, you have to be appointed and confirmed to be a Supreme Court justice. That's number one. But the road to get there is very long. You've got a clerk. First of all, you got to be elected judge, first of all. Then you go from there to be appointed to the appellate court circuit. Then that's when you can work your way up to that Supreme Court justice, right? And for the lawyers that are trying this case, For the lawyers that are defending this case, Neil Katyal is one of my favorite. He's a Solicitor General. Go look him up. He's one of the ones that helped defend the Affordable Care Act and did a masterful class on it. I love me some Neil Katyal. Solicitor General, I think. Then you have attorney, I think her last name was Welsh, yesterday. She's an immigrant. Her parents are immigrants. She's a child of an immigrant. And to be able, just an average lawyer cannot go in front of the Supreme Court. You have the regular bar that you pass and you're sworn in, right? That is at your state level. But if you want to work on federal cases and you want to be able to appeal federal cases, you then have to apply and be sworn into that. And those are the folks that then can go in front of the Supreme Court and defend cases, to file motions. It's a next level of people that are here. They have went through the fire. These are folks, except for the people on the Trump side, because these people are inept, inadequate, and ill-equipped. So the Solicitor General, he was so incompetent yesterday. But Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson put some respect on her name. Cut him down. She is carrying the Constitution on her back. She runs circles around all of them. Okay. I want you to hear how she walks him down to where he can't even answer the question anymore. He can't even say yes, no, or maybe so. Welsh, that's her name. Thank you so much. Yes, your state and local judges are important. People forget that. You have to, you vote them in. Because they could potentially climb that ladder too and affect bigger and broader things. But put some respect on U.S. Supreme Court Justice Ketanji, Dr. that is, Ketanji Brown Jackson. Okay, let's just take a look at this. Hold on. Let me take
that. When this work? How does this work? Are you suggesting that when a baby is born, people have to have documents, present documents? Is this happening in the delivery room? How are we determining when or whether a newborn child is a citizen of the United States under your rule?
And I think that's directly addressed in the SSA guidance that's cited in our brief. What SSA says is there's currently a system where, for example, social security numbers are generated based on the birth certificate. They say this can still be, for the vast majority of instances, completely transparent. You will still get it.
No, not transparent. I'm just talking about the particulars, because now you say your rule turns on whether the person intended to stay in the United States. And I think Justice Barrett brought this up. So are we bringing pregnant women in for depositions? What are we doing to figure this out?
No, as I pointed out earlier, the executive order turns on lawfulness of status. So if you give birth to a baby in the hospital right now, it gets the birth certificate in the system. There's a computer system.
So there's no opportunity. There's apparently no opportunity then for the person to prove or to say that they actually intended to stay in the United States.
Absolutely not. The opposite is true. Their opportunity to dispute if they think they were wrongly denied, which would only happen in a tiny minority of cases,
after the
is
fact.
Directly addressing that guidance.
After the fact.
Yes.
After their baby has been denied citizenship, then we can go through the process.
Yes.
How does this work?
after the fact. Yes, I am. For those that don't know me and are learning to me, I am an aspiring lawyer. I am. I'm an aspiring lawyer. I'm working on it right now. Actually, next spring, I graduate with a certain degree, and then I will then go off to law school after that. So yes, I am. This is why this is my wheelhouse and I'm so passionate about it. It was what I was born to do outside of being my son's mother. Okay? So let's break down on what they are trying to convince the Supreme Court of why the 14th Amendment should be changed. The 14th Amendment states, anyone who is born on American soil is a natural born citizen. Full stop. I'm just giving it to you in layman's terms. The 14th Amendment says you're born here, you're a citizen here. Regardless if your mama was visiting, your mama living in Europe and is from London, and she has siblings over here and she's visiting the siblings, and while she's over here, she gives birth to her child. That child is not from London. That child is from America. And they're trying to say that if the parent, the mother, is not from America, when they are born, they're automatically to be denied citizenship. And that it is now the onus of the parent to go and appeal that decision. What? That doesn't make sense. You know why that does not make sense? First of all, that's not even how you change an amendment. An amendment, right? The states have to be involved, right? That's going to take voting. The state has to be involved, and 2/3 of Congress also has to sign on for this amendment to be changed. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. So they're trying to convince us that there would be no discrimination in that. And that's why Supreme Court Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson said, how would that work? It's not going to work. You know why it's not going to work? Because then when we have certain administrations in, they can then say yes or no. And that's not what the Constitution was founded upon. The 14th Amendment states, if you are born here, you are from here. But again, all they mamas wasn't from here. All they mamas wasn't from here. Trump mama wasn't from here, or daddy. But we're specifically talking about mothers because they're basing it off of the moms. Nobody in this picture, mama. And we're going to take the wives out of the picture, right? We're going to take who they married outside of Jared Kushner. But we're talking about Trump kids, such an unseasoned family, right? They need a little Sazon. They need a little garlic powder, a little bit of crushed red pepper. But none of these individuals, if that is true, right? If that is true, none of these folks in this picture, none of them, all the adults, right? Their mothers are not from this country. So that means they should not have citizenship, correct? If we're going by what they say. And this is what they're trying to convince us. But see, while you're trying to convince us, you better convince yourself. Meanwhile, we also got, JD Vance, the cosplayer in chief too. His wife ain't from here either. And they've got children that he calls her children, but they're not, his wife ain't from here either. Who used to be, let me tell you a little something, come closer. JD Vance's wife is a former Democrat. She only switched over to the Republican Party because this blonde wig wearing, having ass, eyeliner piling on creep who has changed his name 3 to 4 different times. Can you, like, what? Remember they tried to and this all boils down to racism. This all boils down to racism because they're not worried about people cheating the system. That's not what they're worried about. Remember, this goes all the way back to when that man, Donald Trump, came down that golden escalator and demanded to see Barack Obama's birth certificate and college transcripts. Y'all remember that? Sounds familiar, doesn't it? And they came up with birtherism. Y'all remember all of that? All of this is rooted in racism. All of this is rooted in we want to whitewash America. Remember, they tried it with the Japanese, Chinese, our Asian community, who are, by the way, getting reparations. They tried it with us. Right. And yet again, they're now going to try it a different way. Can we make an amendment to the amendment that our forefathers, really the way that they worded it so that it was untouchable, that they couldn't reach it to change it? Because America is supposed to be the land of the free, the home of the brave. It is supposed to be an immigrant nation. That is why we have the Statue of Liberty right there in the water in New York City, because it's the home of the immigrants. So these things aren't rooted on because we want bad people out or because people are abusing the system. No, we want it because we want to whitewash our country. And we also think if we can get any and everybody whose mother is not from here, them and their anchor babies up out of here, it's less of them to vote. It's less of them to run for office. It's less of them to be doctors and lawyers and accountants. It's less of them to be teachers. Y'all following me? It's less of them to be news journalists. It's less of them to be entertainers, even though they love our entertainment, right? You know, it's something kind of how, like, you know, gladiator style. Or back when they would have slaves fighting and they would watch it for their entertainment. Good morning, everybody. Because they figure if we can have less of them involved in stuff, less of them are educated, have the ability to be educated, have the ability to own homes, have the ability to be here. If it's less of them here, we can whitewash this country and have it and be as racist as we want to be and live how we want to live here. That's what it boils down to. But ask folks, has racism worked out for them? Yes, they did pull it with her. Has racism worked out for them? Look at Nick Cannon. Because he's ill-informed. And see, this is what happens when you're ill-informed. Look at Amber Rose. Because you're ill-informed and because she doesn't want to be found guilty of that cryptocurrency deal that she was in. Look at Snoop Dogg. Because he decided that he was going to perform for a check because he was also caught up into some stuff. Nelly was also caught up into some charges, and I think it had something to do with drug charges and needed those to go away. Look at what it has done to their career. We ain't seen Snoop in a while. And normally we see him in all kind of commercials, especially like during March Madness. It's no place that Snoop Dogg is not marketable, but we don't see him much now, do we? Do we? And absolutely, yes. Texas, California, Arizona, Utah, and Colorado was Mexico. Mhm. Mhm. It was. See, when you fail to know your history, then you can't make educated decisions for the future. People always say, why are you living in the history library? Because y'all ain't learned from it. People will say, I don't vote, I don't vote, I don't want to vote, I don't want to vote, my vote doesn't count. Well, do you know how many countless of Black men and women who have died for your right to vote, died for your right to have an education, died for the right for you to be able to buy a house, died for you to have the right to even get a driver's license, died for you to have the right to invent something and actually your name goes on the patent, died for the very right for you to be able to walk down the street peacefully, died for the very right for you to earn degrees. And let me break this down furthermore to you guys, and then we're going to get up out of here. The only reason why we have HOAs, the only reason why we have the LSAT, the BAR, the MCAT, SAT, ACT, the only reason why we have these type of exams, right? The only reason why we have credit monitoring systems, you know why? Because when Black people started having to get it accepted into law school, they had to figure out a way to try to disenfranchise from getting into it. When Black people could then afford to be in homes and in spaces, the HOA was developed to keep us out. The LSAT, these standardized testing, was created to keep us behind because it is not actually rooted in learning. And if you know, you know. The bar to become a lawyer they put in place in hopes that we could not pass it. The MCAT, you know, for our medical students was put in place in hopes that we couldn't pass it. The reason why college educations are so expensive now was because they were trying to put it out of the reach of Black folks. And that's why we created HBCUs. And why are HBCUs in the hoods and the ghettos? Because that's the only place that the bank would give them money to open up these schools. This is where, if you notice, they're always somewhere near churches and things of that nature, because churches were donating land as well. People don't like this type of teaching now. Remember, they used to do a polling tax. You know, the polling tax to see if you could count how many beans was in a jar. And if you could count them successfully, then you could vote, right? They took that model and applied it to other professions to keep us out, because in their mind, we were the uneducated ones, because it was illegal for us to even learn how to read or write. W.E.B. Du Bois had to act like he couldn't read or write for a very long time. So when folks talking about they're not voting, they're not doing this, they need to be educated. Sit down. Let me show you what this means, though. They told us education is the way. Now that we are educated at a high rate, now they want to strip what loans can go for what degrees now. Nursing, teaching, accounting. Because in those areas, guess who the prominent ones in those areas are? Women and Black people. To deter us from going to school, because the uneducated can always be misled. So if you have children, learn your history. And I say this to people, Stop talking about, I want my child to go to a white school to learn what they are. I went to a HBCU. Shout out to North Carolina A&T. Aggie pride. Choose, granted, if they get accepted at some of these schools, good. That's their choice, let them go. But also show them the experience of an HBCU, because that is the only place that a Black child will feel like home. That is the only place that a Black child will never be in the minority. That is the only place that we ain't got to worry about mass shootings. That is the only place that we can go where our culture is celebrated at the highest level, where it is designed for us, by us, with us. Take them to experience some of these things, because they cannot get a taste for things if they don't have the exposure. Let them see what the band is like. There's nothing like an HBCU band that's sashaying through there, and y'all know we got rhythm. I was a cheerleader, and one day I'll show y'all my pictures. And there's nothing like looking out into a sea of 50,000 people on homecoming, and everybody look like us. Everybody's having a good time. Nobody is fighting. Their smiles, it's a celebratory season. There is no greater feeling. I implore and empower you guys to please expose your children to these things. Expose your children to cotillions. Expose your children to, etiquette classes. Expose your children to all of this stuff, because guess what? Fine dining ain't just for white people. Expose your children to traveling, because traveling abroad is not just for white people. And I'm not talking about just the Caribbean islands. I'm talking about go to Europe. Okay, go to East Asia. Okay, go to the south of France. Understand? Give your children something to look forward to and want to work for, and say, this is how I want my life to be. Set your children up so that they have choices. I implore people to go get their gun license, go register. Because if they can have them, we can too. Whatever certifications that you want to get, go get them. Because eventually they're going to try to wipe them out of the way. So go get them and set yourself apart. Set yourself up. Just my thoughts. Y'all know I like to rant and rave. You know what I'm saying? But again, this channel is from a Black woman's perspective. It's politics in plain English, but it's politics in plain English from a Black woman who sees beyond. And I always tell people, if you want to know how to vote, vote like a smart Black woman, because a smart Black woman sees beyond her nose. She sees her family. She sees her neighbors. She sees what is the school system going to look like? What is healthcare going to look like? What is the food that we buy going to be contaminated with? Where is it going to be access to healthcare? What is that access going to look like? Are we going to have access to good doctors for our special needs family? Are we going to have access to good therapists? Are we going to have access to good education where we don't have to pay an arm and a leg for them to go? And even though we will if we have to. We think about our mothers. We think about our siblings. We think so far beyond just me and my business. We think so far beyond that. We look at it from a holistic point of view, because it is in our nature, it is in our culture to be nurturing. And the nurture part does not just start and stop with us. It starts with us and it ends with a whole neighborhood of folks. Nice cars are nice, but the value of that car goes down. What about putting yourself in position to either buy a home, buy some land, own some stock, Own things that you can pass out. Get some life insurance. You can't pass down clothes and shoes. I mean, you can, but your job, however you get paid, you can't pass that down to your children. You can pass land. Land can make money. House has equity. If you have a business, how it's set up, you can set it up for that it forever pays your children. You can instill them how to make better choices and have educated choices, because statistics show people with higher education tend to make better educated choices because they think first. They critical think. And sometimes we as parents are detriment to our own children because we want to solve all their problems. We cannot. We have to let them struggle through it sometimes, because they have to understand what problem solving looks like. Because as much as we want to be here forever for our children, we are not. So I implore you and empower you to empower not only yourself, but everybody around you. If I am 42 years old with a 10-year-old autistic child, and I work, I am in school full time, and I can start me up a YouTube channel, there is nothing that you can do. There is absolutely nothing on this God's green earth that you can do. If he gives you the vision, he's going to give you the way. Period, point blank. Put it down in paper and make it plain. That even says it in the Bible. Yes, Miss Queenie, I did, but you know we flipped some of those seats, so they ain't gonna be able to do that. Figure out, your property tax is dictated by the school zone that you in. Y'all better learn something. Show up to those city council meetings. Show up to those school board meetings. Show up to the schoolhouse. Find out who is teaching your children, because my mother is a principal and she'll tell you that it be Karen's teaching the school too. Find your passion instead of driving your children to play sports. Yes, that is an avenue to better education. That is an avenue. It's not the only avenue. Use it as a tool. Use it as a tool, right? Use it as a tool. But we need teachers. We need lawyers. We need doctors. We need accountants. We need engineers. We need farmers. We need nurses. We need dentists. We need therapists. We need occupational therapists, physical therapists, speech therapists. We need operational managers. We need politicians. We need policy writers. Okay. Being able to make it to the league is great, but that's not even long term either. You see, when they leave the NFL, they don't even get health care that's that great. Use it as a tool. We have to smarten up. We have to tighten up. We need so many people. We need firefighters. We need good policemen. We need people to develop cleaning companies to go in these schools and be janitors, because a lot of people don't understand those janitors are a part of kids' everyday life. Ain't nothing wrong with it. It's an honest living. And yes, it's okay to be angry and upset and mad at what is going on in the world, but turn it into fuel. Okay, we here now. What can we do? What can I do? We can't just sit back and complain. And I used to be so upset and so mad. And I said, how can I give back? And the way that I can give back is I can use my voice. And if that means I can come on here every day and reach 2 people, 10 people, 10,000 people, 100 people, 60 people, 70 people, that's what I'm going to do. Don't let the devil trick you out your spot. Now that's my rant for today. Y'all know y'all won't see me again until Tuesday, but I will try to do some updates through the week, some shorts so that you guys see it. Thank you so much for attending. I really appreciate you guys. I really enjoy this. It is also an outlet for me as well to be able to talk about the things that I love to talk about, the things that inspire me, motivate me, and hopefully I motivate and inspire you as well. Thank you again here on Politics in Plain English, where we talk current political events and explain what's happening and why it's happening and what it means for you. Please hit that like, share, and subscribe button. Again, shout out to all my autistic families. This is Autism Awareness Month and Acceptance Month, but today is the actual day of celebratory things. My son actually got picked to, thank you so much, y'all. My son actually got picked to represent an NBA team tomorrow, so he will be there. I'm so proud of him. He is doing so great, and I'm grateful for his community support system that he has around him. Get involved, be active, let your voice be heard. So I'm so proud of him. And those are the ones that love and support him. I have seen the cash apps that y'all have been sending him for his donut. I will show him. He has what I do whenever I get it for him. I put it in another space and I give him his debit card to go and swipe when it's time to swipe. So the Real K Fit, if you do want to donate to his little donut fund or whatever, I really hope that I encourage somebody today. It was just heavy on my heart. And when something is on my heart, I speak on it. Remember, stay in the know, but don't get drowned in the know, okay? Stay in the know, but don't get drowned in the know. I love you guys deeply, and we will talk later. Peace.